the dark water turned completely white. I could no longer hear the roar of the water or feel my lungs burning. I was swiftly hurled forward, zooming to a tunnel of bright white light. As I traveled through the tunnel, unconditional love enveloped me. This love wasn't just a feeling, but a presence that radiated all around me and through me. After a minute, I found myself in a room with white walls that were like clouds or thick fog, but solid. I became aware that my body was different. I didn't have feet, and the bottom of my body was attached to a luminescent silver cord that vanished into the tunnel that I just traveled through.
I'm here today with Laurie Lambert. In 1987, Laurie was involved in a severe whitewater incident in which she actually had a near-death experience. And she is here to share that with us today. Laurie, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I'm
Absolutely.
excited to tell my story. This evening, I've been invited to tell my story of my near-death experience at age 19 when I served in the United States Navy. First, I'd like to provide some background information before delving into my NDE story. I was born in Queens, New York, and I'm the youngest child of 5. I've always possessed innate psychic gifts and could see and communicate with spirit from an early age. When I brought these revelations to my parents' attention, they attributed my paranormal experiences to an overly active imagination. As time passed, my ability to see spirits diminished. My family's background, a religious background, was Roman Catholic, but not devout. My parents sent me to Catholic school for the 6th through the 11th grade, but my parents attended church infrequently, mostly during major holidays. Regardless, I considered myself spiritual, but did not practice my faith when my NDE occurred. I joined the United States Navy to the delayed entry program at age 17 and enlisted in July 1985 after graduation. I nearly drowned in the pool during boot camp, but passed the water test and passed and review after 8 grueling weeks of training. I was then sent to Ocean Systems Technician Analyst A and C schools in Norfolk, Virginia, and Dam Neck, Virginia. In the fall of 1986, I received orders to Naval Facility, Coos Head, Oregon. While stationed there, I became involved in an abusive relationship with a fellow sailor. He was emotionally toxic, but I was convinced I was in love, and I put up with his abuse because I had low self-esteem. In May 1987, my duty section, which included my toxic boyfriend, decided to register for a whitewater rafting excursion on the Rogue River. Despite a gut feeling that something bad would happen, I was pressured to join my watch floor team at the Rogue River as part of building a stronger bond with my coworkers. All the Rogue River rapids except 2 fell into class 1, 2, and 3 difficulty. The classification simply meant you had to use safety measures while like wearing life jackets and not being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. With those guidelines in place, most able-bodied people who got dumped out of their kayak could get back in. The 2 more challenging class 4 sections were Rainy Falls and Blossom Bar. We relaxed on the less intense parts of the river during the morning, and after lunch, we embarked upon Mule Canyon, the gateway to the class 4 section. The water was 30 feet deep in some places on the Rogue. The current was historically higher and faster than normal that May. I paid close attention to the guide accompanying us as he explained how to navigate Blossom Bar successfully. It required a quick right, left, right maneuver with my paddle. I failed to do this. And I traveled to a feature called the Picket Fence, which is an area of the river clogged with very large, huge rocks that had swirling coal-like vortices. 4 tall boulders protruded from the water on the right side with swirling eddies near them. And as I tried to navigate past them, the current was too strong. Instead of going where I wanted to go, I headed straight for the picket fence and was thrown out of my kayak. I rolled out into about 30 feet of water, which was ice cold. It immediately shocked me. And as I gasped for air, all I got was a lung full of water. Under the turbulent current, I was stuck under the freezing water, unable to reach the surface, despite having a life vest. I was terrified as I became air hungry. And the harder I fought, the more tired I got. And the first thing that went through my mind is, I'm going to die here. And I said, God, please help me. And I got exhausted. So I stopped struggling and I relegated myself to my fate. Suddenly the dark water turned completely white. I could no longer hear the roar of the water or feel my lungs burning. I was swiftly hurled forward, zooming to a tunnel of bright white light. As I traveled through the tunnel, unconditional love enveloped me. This love wasn't just a feeling, but a presence that radiated all around me and through me. After a minute, I found myself in a room with white walls that were like clouds or thick fog, but solid. I became aware that my body was different. I didn't have feet, and the bottom of my body was attached to a luminescent silver cord that vanished into the tunnel that I just traveled through. In the room, there were a trio of beings. Each was made of a gigantic shimmering crystal. The light shone through them like a glass prism. They were 6 to 7 feet tall. They spoke to me telepathically. I was afraid of them, and they seemed to sense this. Suddenly, all 3 transformed into the type of angels I grew up knowing and recognizing. They didn't have wings like birds. They had wings that were like thin strands of fiber optic cables with light shining through them in the shape of wings. The colors of the light would rapidly shift through the color spectrum. Their eyes reminded me of the color inside of a CD when it's spinning. It had an array of multiple colors that sparked with energy. When they looked at me, I could feel they adored every cell that I was made of. I felt surrounded by unconditional, pure love. All 3 angels wore robes with corded belts around the waist. I couldn't see their feet. All communication between them was through telepathic means. The smaller of the 3 on the left told me it was not my time to be here. He told me his name was Yashiel. He told me that he was my guardian angel. He said that I have been here with you since the beginning. I will be with you until the end. The second angel in the middle was the tallest one. He didn't give his name, but I sensed he was higher, like in the angelic hierarchy, like maybe an archangel. He said, "You've come too soon. It's not your time to be here. You must go back to your body." The third angel didn't give his name, but he turned to a table made out of the same white, cloud-like material, almost transparent. He picked up a large book that wasn't quite a book that we know. It was like the physical pages were more like a movie that played out over the page. I saw my spirit formed at conception, and I saw like images of me doing things that I regretted doing. like times I was mean to other people, and then there were times that I was kind and helpful, doing things gentle to my spirit. The page turned to the darkened silhouette of what appeared to be a man and two small children. The third angel spoke to my mind. He said, "You cannot be here. You have work to do. You have to be here for them." The last page was of multiple children, so many that I couldn't count all their images. The third angel said again, "You must be here for them." He closed the book and he returned it to its place. Yashiel turned to me and took my hand. I felt so much joy, love, and peace. I wanted to stay there. It felt like it was a place I belonged. It was home. Yashiel told me, "You have to go back to your body, but before you do, I will show you some things." Suddenly, the room that we were in vanished, and I was flying with my guardian angel. I saw a magnificent waterfall with no beginning and no end. Its mist formed a rainbow overhead where the brightest light I've ever seen in my life was. The light, it radiated love, peace, joy. When it touched my skin, I felt how unconditionally loved I was, how cherished I was. We passed over a field of golden wheat, and I could feel the spirit in the wheat, in the soil where it grew, in the trees, plants, and flowers growing in so many different colors that I have never seen before on Earth. I could hear the birds, the animals, and I felt as if I were one with them, that we were all interconnected. The breath of God caused the wheat to move in waves. I could hear the most beautiful songs all around me. I felt blessed. Yashiel and I landed beside a small body of water with a surface that reflected like liquid mercury, or like maybe hematite, like that stone, that grayish stone that's really shiny. When you look down into it, you can see people on Earth doing their day-to-day activities. Not far away from the lake was a country rail fence. It kind of demarcated a separation between here and there. On the other side of the fence was a massive tree. It was as tall as it was wide, like an oak, like a giant oak. It had gold leaves. And when the breath of God passed through the leaves would fly off and turn into birds. The tree was never bare. It created new leaves as soon as one was shed. And it was there that Yashiel told me that I was here for you in the beginning. I will be with you till the end. Now you must return to your body. You have to be here for them. I started to refuse. I begged and I cried to stay there. I didn't care about my parents. It was like all sense of that life on Earth. It was like nothing. It was like, I want to be here. But he wasn't going to negotiate with me. He pushed me with such great force that I was hurled back through the tunnel and back into my body, where I popped out of the hole I was stuck in and back up to the surface. And when I reached the surface, I gasped for air. One of the guides in the pontoon boat grabbed me by the back of my life jacket and pulled me up on the boat. It looked like only a few minutes had passed in this life, while it felt like an eternity on the other side of the tunnel, like hours. The guide salvaged my kayak and paddled downstream, and he tried to get me back into the kayak, but I felt like something unexplainable and profound had happened to me. I refused to go back into the water that day. after effects of my near-death experience. Physically, I had severe bronchitis for 2 weeks, but no further side effects physically. I didn't remember what happened immediately after the incident on the road. It took several months of lucid dreams centered around drowning, seeing angels, and all the images described in my near-death experience for it all to be pieced together. In 1987, there was no social media, there was no internet, there was no cell phones to look up or research what happened to me in May on the river. I didn't have a name for what I experienced. In 95, when Windows came out for the first time, I was troubled by the repetitive dreams that I was having. So I used a search engine and typed in near drowning, seeing angels. And that is how I found out that I had a near-death experience. One effect of my near-death experience was an enhanced sensitivity. I have the gift of clairaudience, clairsentience, and clairvoyance. I have prophetic dreams. And another gift that isn't as pleasant, I can see missing persons' pictures and know that they've crossed the veil. My near-death experience showed me the importance of unconditional love, not just for humankind, but for myself as self-love. Leaving relationships I was involved in when they no longer served my highest good was part of that self-love. I'm no longer afraid of death, and I know the place I visited during my near-death experience was my heavenly home. I know where I'm going when I'm completed my earthly tasks. The world needs to know that they are infinitely and divinely loved and cared for, despite the chaos and despair in the world. And that begins with me shining my light and healing hurting souls in this life. That's my story.
Wow, that is an amazing story. And I have so many questions for you. When you saw the beings and you were at first you were afraid of them, after that, did they feel familiar to you?
It was almost as if I knew that smaller one was someone that has been with me before. There was a familiarity, like almost like I could test him. And I really tried to test him, and he wasn't going to have it because he had to answer to the other two angels that were there that were probably higher up on the hierarchy. So yeah, I didn't know exactly who it was, but it almost felt, at least the middle one felt like it was Raphael, Archangel Raphael, who's known as the healer. And I don't know who the third one was, but he was in charge of the books. That's what I picked up, that he was in charge of like keeping tabs on the humans that were and their soul purposes. That's what I felt.
Your guardian angel said that he has been with you since the beginning and will be with you until the end. Do you have, oh, and you have some clairs that you brought back with you as well. Do you have a line of communication with any of these angels?
When I've had like several instances where I've been woken from a deep sleep, or I'm on my way to take a nap and I heard a voice. And I'll tell you one story. I was on my way upstairs to take a nap. My kids were outside playing. They were riding their bikes. And my son was, he was 10 and my daughter was about 7. I saw 2 dogs running wild in the neighborhood moments before. And I had called them inside because I had a bad feeling about it. And Rachel, my daughter, she came in, she put her bike in the garage and came inside. And Philip came inside, but didn't put his bike away. So I sent him back outside to get his bike and move it into the garage. And I was on my way upstairs, and all of a sudden I heard his voice, like Yashiel's voice. And he said, "You need to go outside now, and you need to check on Philip now." And it was like, oh, and I turned around, and the stairs were like directly, there was a window facing the front yard. I saw the dog, and he had his paws up on my son's shoulders. And I never felt the stairs. It was almost as if I flew down the stairs and went out the door. And by the time I got to the bush in the driveway, the dog had lunged for his face. And he had gotten his lip wide open. And my son is deaf, profoundly deaf from birth. And I turned to him and I said, "Walk to me, walk to me." So he turned and he started walking, but he was trying to run and the dogs wanted to run after him. All of a sudden, I don't know what was in me or around me, but I looked at that dog and I said, "You will not touch him." That dog turned tail and ran. Like it was in fear for its life. I felt there was a presence, like an angelic presence behind me. That really came out with much force. And he wound up with about 7 stitches in his lip and an emergency room visit. But they've come through multiple times with a voice like that that will alert me to something that's not okay, something that I need to pay attention to. And that's just one example of me hearing the voice.
And just a few seconds later could have been a
It could have been,
tragedy.
he could have been mauled, or
Yeah,
Rachel could have gone outside too, and she was much smaller. So it was frightening.
truly a guardian angel.
Yep, definitely intervention.
What was the light that you saw above the rainbow?
That was God. That was the source of all things. That was God. That was the higher power that you consider to be God. It was unceasing. And when you looked up in it, if you looked up at it, it didn't make you go, "Oh, I can't see." It was like you could see, and it was like, wow, it just went on forever. And it was radiating so much love. It's just not here. It's not here. He wants me to take that light and use it so people know that it's they're not alone.
Can you access this light?
I have to meditate. When I do connect with my higher power spirits, elevated masters, and angels, I have to meditate. And it's a process of like connecting with the universe.
When you were looking through the lake, you said it was like a hematite. There's and ancients used to do this where they would look at a black mirror or a polished black stone or something like that, or even like the crystal ball, a clear crystal ball, and that would be used for divination. It was kind of a portal across the veil where people from this side could see loved ones or people that have passed. Do you think that that lake was also like a portal?
I saw specifically, I saw my family about their day to day. and it just never connected. It was like, I like it here. It's like I've been there before. It's like I know this place. It's familiar to me. And it was home. And that's where I wanted to stay. I wanted to be there. But I hadn't finished the job that I was sent here to do. They were very adamant about that. Very adamant.
Have you found out what that job is?
Just to spread the message that, they're loved unconditionally and try to heal people. I have I'm a nurse as a profession, but I was doing hospice nursing. And because of my near-death experience, I was able to help people that were dying, that were scared, and offer them comfort and tell them what's waiting for them. So it's a mix of things that my purpose. It's telling the story of my near-death experience. Who knows who will see it? Somebody that's really suffering and is holding on to their last thread. It may give them hope. It may give them the ability to live. And I don't know how many people will be affected by watching this video. But I'm supposed to see all those children, and I believe those children are children of God, humans, people.
You had lucid dreams, you said, after your experience as well. Can you tell me a little bit more about how that played out? What did they feel like and what did you learn?
Uh, I'll tell you a story about when I saw Jesus. Um, I was walking down one of these, it looks like a straight desert highway with the tumbleweeds and everything. And these mesas, it's like reddish. These mountains and cliffs and stuff are all reddish. I was walking down the road and I looked ahead, and to my right, there was an old sofa on the side of the road. And this guy was sitting on the sofa, and he looked like a hippie. He had like ragged bell-bottom jeans and sandals and a tie-dye shirt, and he had longish hair and a beard. And as I got closer to him, he said, you've come a long way. You've traveled a long time. Why don't you have a seat? Sit down. So I sat down and I looked at his face, and his eyes were like the angels that I saw in the near-death experience. They had that sparkling energy in the recesses of his eyes. And he said, for 40 days and for 40 nights, I will do battle with Satan in the desert. And I was like, oh, really? And he said it again. For 40 days and for 40 nights, I will do battle with Satan in the desert. And he said, but I will sustain you. And then out of these hills came all of these children. There was just like in the near-death experience, except I couldn't see their faces in the near-death experience. I saw these children come out, and they came all around the sofa, and they were all different shapes, all different sizes, and they had ragged clothes on, but their eyes were like his. And he said, I will do battle in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, but I will sustain you. One of the little boys, it looked like a little boy, he came up to me and he handed me a piece of, it looked like a wafer. And he said, eat it. And I took it and I ate it. And I sensed that that little boy was Yashael. And I ate it. It tasted sweet. It tasted sweet and it kind of melted in my mouth like cotton candy. And then all of a sudden, it disappeared. And I woke up and I was like, what the hell just happened? I was it's like, oh, that was a really, really profound dream. But when I thought back at it, I think what he gave me to eat was manna, like in the Bible, that he gave the Israelites manna to survive. Um, there's been many, many, many times in my life where I have been at my lowest point, and by some miracle, God delivered sustenance for me. And he's been true to his word. When he said that he was going to sustain me, he has. And I'm very blessed, very blessed.
Do you believe that you were given this experience so that you could come back and share this with the world?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt, without a doubt. Um, and I've just kind of like sat back. All I did was like submit my story to NDERF, the Near Death Experience Research Foundation. And I've had so many people contact me about my experience. And I've had, you know, podcasts like this, a book. Um, it's been incredible, you know, that I can do that, that I can tell the story and get my message out to the world.
I think that it is incredible that you're sharing your story, and the world is starving for information like this. We have been in a spiritual drought for I don't even know how as long as I've been alive at least, and I know for as long as my parents were alive and my grandparents and great grandparents, so a very long time, possibly thousands of years. Um, and we are starting to wake up. Do you feel like the planet is waking up as a whole, and that's why more people are starting to have these experiences, become interested in them?
Yeah, I do. And I think it has to do with well, I do astrology, just I'm interested in things like that. Um, it's the age of Aquarius. Pluto is moving into Aquarius, and it's going to be in Aquarius for the next 40 years. And there's going to be a lot of like awareness and a lot of moving towards unity and working together. And this is part of it. This is part of it.
You said that prior to your near death experience, you were in a toxic relationship due to being or to having low self esteem. Did that experience change your relationship afterwards and your self esteem?
It ended the relationship for without a doubt, because it gave me hope in myself, that unconditional love. I need to love myself enough to walk away from things that are not for me, that are unhealthy, that do not help my situation, that do not evolve me. I have to care for myself. And I have to care for myself in order to be able to be a messenger so people can hear the story.
Do you continue to have experiences
Like
like the
paranormal type.
like the dreams or any other kind of, yeah,
Uh,
paranormal?
it's a lot of missing people, like the boy that was down in South Carolina that vanished. after coming out of the bar, I told my daughter the other day, I said, he's in the water. He's in the water. And today I found out that's where they found him. And I don't like it. I don't like having a gift like that. You know, you want to give people hope that their loved one's still alive, but sometimes they're not. And I could feel it. And it starts like a big tingle on my crown. And I don't know. And it's overwhelming that they're not here. They've passed. And that's sad. And sometimes I can feel how they died. Sad.
Can you communicate with people who have passed over?
I was able to do that once. I was able to do that one time, and it's really bad. It was bad. She suffered. She suffered, and I could feel that physically. It was not pleasant. I told her that she needed to go to the light, that she does not need to stay here, that she needed to go to the light, and she did. She did. I don't get visits like that often. I think as my gifts develop and grow stronger and I have more control over them, I would be able to do a lot with that.
After your experience, it changed your relationship with yourself. Did it change the way that you view the world or religion or your spirituality?
Oh, wow. Sometimes I get angry. I just get angry because I'm here. And it's been like, it's almost like I'm grieving where I want to be compared to where I am. But I know that I'm supposed to be here because I'm supposed to be here for them. But it doesn't make me happy when I see suffering in the world. When I see it, it's there. You can't escape it. And you see people that are just, it's hard to be unconditional with people that really are hateful. There are so many people that they didn't get that unconditional love, obviously, during their life. And they're just angry, hateful people. And it's hard to witness that. It's hard to explain that suffering to people. My spirituality, I had gone from Roman Catholicism to being a charismatic Christian, quote unquote, saved when the world started to change during the 2020 election and before that, when my church started to politicize religion, I had to step away because it didn't match the energy I had. And right now, I'm a spiritual person. I definitely believe in a higher power. I believe in angels. I believe in light and dark, if you want to call it heaven or hell. But I just can't handle hypocrisy. I cannot. It's not what I saw there. God loved me and he loves us. And it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat or a Christian. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. None of that stuff exists there. None of it. And it's just scary what people are taking and twisting and making into something that discriminates and hurts other people. And I just can't, it's just not for me. And I know that some people may watch this video and say, oh, clutch their pearls. I've had other people like comment on YouTube videos about my experience and say, the only way to God is through Jesus. I wasn't saved at 19 years old. I saw what I saw. I experienced what I experienced, and I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. There are people that aren't Christian that have near-death experiences. So how do you explain it? How do you explain it? These people saw heaven, and that in itself is just so much of a discrepancy from traditional religious life here. There's so many divisions. There's so much being taken out of context or used to promote hatred. And it's not the same energy. I didn't see this vengeful God. And I was lacking, seriously lacking at 19. I did things that I shouldn't have done. Sinner, whatever you want to call it. And I still saw God. He still answered my cry. He still heard me. He still saved me. And the thing that really got me after my near-death experience, 20 people since 1987 died at Blossom Bar in the same exact spot that I almost drowned. And I'm here. They are not. God saved me that day.
Would you say that God loves everyone, regardless of their religion or their race
Everyone,
or
everyone, everyone. Because the breath of life that he breathed into those plants, into those birds, is in us. We're part of him, and he is a part of us. He, she, they, it doesn't matter. We're all interconnected, all of us, because we're a part of the higher source.
did you experience the oneness that's so common in near-death experiences?
I felt like I was part of everything, from an insect on the ground to the light that was above my head. Everything was connected. Everything. We're all part of each other. And the thing is, we're not seeing it here. We're not seeing that connectedness, that we're all human. We're all part of the same chain. And it's frustrating to see the disconnect.
I think it's common for near-death experiencers um, to feel that frustration because they're so much more aware of this greater understanding of the universe, of who we truly are, and they come back to this world where people are still very self-centered, and I don't want to mean it in a negative way, but in a human way, where they don't recognize the connectedness that you're talking about.
Right. And this is just one dimension of many. Earth is only one dimension, but we all chose as souls to come here because it's like school for your soul. You go through the lessons, you learn, or you don't learn. You evolve, or you don't evolve. But there's like a connectedness. There's groups of us that have been through several lives together, and we're in different positions each time we come here. We learn a lesson here, and our souls choose Earth to come because we learn faster here, because there's so much that you can see around you. Everything affects you, everything affects us, negative or positive.
Did you lose consciousness under the water? Or was
I
it
think
constant strain?
I think I might have like blacked out from the lack of oxygen, and it just immediately took me to the tunnel. It was like quick.
What would you say consciousness is?
I think it's a level of awareness and being open to things that are outside your knowledge, like normal, like everyday stuff. It just isn't enough to feed it. You're just so hyper aware of everything around you, and you know that there's more to life than this.
The gifts that you have, are those available to anyone if they develop them? And if so, how can they develop them?
I was born with these gifts. My parents, my mom, it's like passed through my grandmother, my mom, and me, and my daughter and son. Um, I believe that everyone has innate gifts, um, especially as children. And it depends on your upbringing. Some people encourage their children to explore these gifts, while others dismiss it. And with me, my parents kind of like dismissed it as an imagination thing. So I stopped believing in it. And it took a long time. It took a near death experience to like open that door again. And I don't think I'm the only one with a near death experience that has come out of it with special gifts. I think we're all given those gifts when we do have a near death experience or another profound experience where you've seen the other side. Um, how do I develop mine? It, like I said, with you have to meditate, you have to connect to the universal energy in order to like open your third eye. And it takes, for me, I have attention deficit disorder, so it takes a lot of concentration for me to like get it open. And once it's open, it's flowing. But trying to learn how to like protect yourself, because there's a lot of people that are energy vampires, I guess. Your energy can get quickly drained if you're not protecting yourself. Um, I have to be grounded, so I'm not in the air someplace with my mind, that I know that I'm still here on earth. So grounding myself and being in the present moment, that's an important thing to do, as well as protecting yourself. I usually visualize like a bubble around myself of white light, protective light. And I have to do that before I leave the house. If I'm around other people, I have to protect myself that way.
And you have a book available. If my viewers wanted to reach out to you with questions or to purchase your book, how can they find you?
It's a guidepost book. It's, I don't remember the name of it. Angels on Earth, I think. Um, it's it's like a it's like a chapter book, and different people who've had near-death experiences have a chapter. And mine is the third chapter in the book, Angels on Earth. And it's part of a guidepost series. So you'd have to go to guidepost in order to get it. And they have different books with different names that have to do with either angel visitations or near-death experiences. And there's also a video of me on the Guidepost Network on YouTube.
Great. And do you have any last positive words of wisdom for my viewers?
Um, I would say keep your mind open to like things that are outside of your experience, that there's someone, something that is all powerful and all knowing and loves you with great intensity, and that you're not alone. If you feel lost, if you feel hopeless, there's a light that people are shining, people like me that have experienced a near-death experience, that want to reach out to you and comfort you, and help heal those things. Um, just keep hope alive. I think, it's going to get better.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you, Laurie, for spending this time with me today. It was really an honor to get to meet you and hear about your story and get to discuss it with you.
Thank you, Tia. I really enjoyed being here and telling my story, and hopefully people feel something from that. They can gain some knowledge from that, knowing that, there's a place we all go, regardless of what background you have, that is our home.
I think that's very comforting, and it will find its way to who needs to hear it. Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near-death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.